sound?
Yes, I can. I'm trying to think what the Verizon. Good. There we go. Welcome, misfits.
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us now? Yes, if you pay us enough money. Verizon, sponsored by Nabisco. Welcome, misfits. In this episode of Skeptic and Ranting, I was a militant atheist. One terrifying moment that forced me to reject atheism. Dun, dun, dun. Well, no. We are actually watching a video from, and this is James's favorite.
It's been a long time coming.
The Tucker Carlson Network.
TCN, baby. TCN.
That's right. Woohoo. Where we are talking about the one terrifying moment that forced Dave Smith to reject atheism. Ooh, excuse me. Sponsored by
Dave
Coffee.
Smith.
So won't you join us for a good time? So spooky. We apparently find God. The title was so big and the YouTube algorithms was like, yeah, you guys shorten that. So I'm sorry, Dave Smith.
Al Gore's rhythm came along and said no.
Did you know that he invented the Air Force did actually help in create the interwebs. Good times. I do want to thank all of you for joining us on the intertubes. And then eventually, after the internet, came the World Wide Web. There had to be someone that was like, hey, we should probably have some sort of graphical way of controlling this and it not just being like a military tool. And thus, here we are. Same guy made HTML. Yes, please don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Woo! Oh, because then you get to hit up our bell icon that, when set to all, will help you see our premieres or join our live streams like we're live. Woo! James, let's do it live.
We did it live. We're here.
Turn the frogs as gay as we can. Yes, we are a skeptic channel. We're about to be showing you people who probably disagree with us. As always, please come one, come all. Feel free to speak your voices in chat. Speaking of which, we can say hello. What is up? God equals the square root of 1. What is up, Sinister Porpoise? Happy Pride. I'm glad we're still allowed to say that. Oh my goodness. I get off for Juneteenth. We're still allowed to have those? That's fantastic. Should make political jokes. They come knocking at your door. Have to wear a little star. It's not that bad yet. No. What are we talking about? Yes, we are, in fact, skeptic and ranting about one terrifying moment that forced Dave Smith to reject atheism. Apparently, he is a comedian, a libertarian, and now a member of the Tucker Carlson Network. A phrase I enjoy saying, James. It's not just Tucker Carlson. Oh, I just realized that he got summoned by Satan. But it's true. I just enjoy saying that it's not really just Tucker Carlson, but it's really the network of Carlsons all coming together. Yes. So sending love out there. I'll send some shout outs. We'll have some fun and get into our video for tonight. It is good to see you all. I'll give some quick updates. I believe I am doing another modern day debate next week. I will be debating on another LGBTQ issue. So looking forward to representing George Soros, very specifically, who pays us per hour. Have to at least support any LGBTQ issues at a quota. And yes, sending so much love out there. I'm sure happy No King's Day. Oh my goodness. We almost went there today. I was doing stuff. I was doing some final grading, or else we probably would have went out to the No King's Day. Can I tell you a weird thing politically? I was getting to the point where, and I make this, it's like a joke, not joke. I felt like so much like a bootlicker like a year or two ago. Because it was getting to the point where I was like, the West has really done me no wrong. I have a perfect life. I have all the rights that we ever fought for. We have. And there was like this calm, kind of like before a tsunami where the water goes out to shore. You're not even paying attention that you were drinking a margarita and everything was so amazing. And then just like that, you get hit with a wave or two and those pesky rights that you had. But I did. I felt like the term was like a bootlicker. Like I was just too pro-West. Because there was just so much, we had won. We really did culturally. And we will again. Because they the pendulum swings back and forth, right and left politically. But, like, the overcorrection to saying people's pronouns correctly is fascism. I feel like that's a overcorrection to calling me she. But that's okay. Do. We're the canary in the coal mine. Truly. If you see our rights getting taken away, it's going to be your Social Security next. Or your health care. And I'll continue to say I'm pro, I'm a liberal, but I'm not anti-conservative. I have conservative values. I say the number one conservative value, if I could boil it down, which is ironically the number one seller in Hollywood among liberals, which is family. That very word. Foundational to life itself. So I promote it. Not anti even Republican, because I don't want to make it partisan. And yet we have less rights than we did even a few years ago. I know to many out there who have not had anything that Jenga quite pulled out yet. It doesn't feel like anything, but that adage, they came for the this and the that, and I wasn't this and I wasn't that, and they eventually came for me, and no one else was left to defend me. Happy podcast sponsored by Nabisco. Okay. James is still not back, so I'm going to still... He is with Satan and Gilbert Godfrey, working in tangent. They sometimes have to do updates. I'll keep on. Speaking of updates, I will continue sending love out there. Many ways to sponsor the show. You can send in super chats and I'll dance around and interact and blow kisses. I kind of like to do that anyway, but it's just another reason for me to do so. And I am sending love also to all of our channel members with our evolving badge system. I want to do so much more evolution debates. I should ask James if we can do more evolution debates. As he's grown, he's gotten, good biologists and doctors, but maybe a 2v2, that'd be fun. I would like to get my PhD one day. Oh my. Every time I start talking about conscience or sentience, I start to get in the weeds, though I want to really do a connection to that and computers. Somewhere between human-computer interaction. Mostly that deals with graphical user interfaces. But it is an interesting field. That's kind of where I want my PhD. Elvis is king. Yep. So what was I saying about the politics? There are some American values. I think there are two things to be proud of. One, the Revolutionary War, in which half of America became free. Some people don't like it phrased that way, so I'll say step one, if you want that. Step one towards freedom. What annoys me about that element of the Revolutionary War, because I'm very proud that they fought for freedom, still a reform head in the right direction, is that abolitionists existed in the day. And so we could have actually saved ourselves a civil war. We don't even have the excuse that it was it was longer ago and they didn't know better. They actually did know better. And again, this isn't to say that I'm not happy or proud to be an American. I think that understanding history and the context, the good and the bad, is what makes it worthy. Because then eventually we got towards the Civil War and then everyone was free. So that was step two, if you want it phrased differently. And so I'm proud that we, had that journey. I'm proud that we're a secular country, even though we have a very Puritan culture and society from the lay people that, outmated the founders. We have a secular society. Anyway, continuing on, it's been harder to resist I'm getting tongue-tied. It's been harder to resist the temptation of talking about politics as it affects our lives, even when you try to avoid it. I still think that religion is the number one issue, because I think that it ultimately, most of the cultural wars actually come from all of these religious issues. There are the techno-billionaires that are trying to push for certain parts of an oligarchic society. But then, religion is also trying to make that last push, trying to reassert itself. I see a reaction to the new atheism movement. And I hate to say new atheism because that's not really a thing. And it was never used by atheists.
See.
I can hear someone's back.
Am I back?
Yes, you are.
Great. Well, I'm in Florida and it's tropical. Caribbean day here in Florida.
That sounds amazing. I wish
Yeah.
one day I'll visit Florida. My relatives will kidnap me, and I'll go willingly. Though I hear many crazy stories as well. Here's the thing, though.
Gotta
I
go move down
grew
to
up.
Boca for your heritage. It's like a pilgrimage down to Boca Raton.
Wasn't trying to make it, but I half made it. There you go. Exactly. But I like warm weather, and I grew up near New Jersey. I feel like that's all the training I need to survive Florida.
Well, pretty much. Nah. You'll be all right.
I'll be okay. Just don't bet the
Leave
sharks.
half
You'll
your
be
brain
fine.
up there, and you'll be fine.
Like I said, New Jersey. I'm sending love to White Castle. Lots of
Love to the New Jersey Turnpike. No pumping your own gas.
Yes, exactly. New Jersey is weird with that. I don't know with the no.
I remember
pumping.
driving through New Jersey one time and I pull up at a gas station and the guy almost tackles me before I get to the pump. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, did I find the only full service gas station in America? Like, it's no extra charge. It's no extra charge. Like, okay.
Listen, we pump the gas here.
Yeah.
Okay,
like,
buddy.
All right.
I mean, in shitty weather, I like it. I'll take it. But yeah, it is a little weird. They're like the only state. And I'm pretty sure the only reason that they keep it is because
Oregon
they're the
used to
only
have it.
state.
And I think Oregon got rid of it, yeah.
Yeah. We can pump gas. It probably cost more money, and it's I don't know how much of an amazing job it was. Can't believe those aren't even more automated than they are already. We still got to get out of our car and do all this shit. Come on, Elon. Figure out a brain trip, but you can't figure. Actually, I guess he has the. You still have to plug it in, right? With the electric.
Yeah, I do believe you have to plug it in. It doesn't plug itself in.
See, they need like a material that you can drive the car right into, and then as you're on it, it just. I think I'm way too lazy.
It's called a wall.
Sending so much love. Again, our evolving badge system. I just like talking about evolution. So
Elvis is the
that's
king.
there.
No, God equals square root of -1. Elvis is the king.
Yeah.
Not God or Trump. It's like Oliver Cromwell when he ran England as a quasi-monarch. He refused to call himself king because he said only Christ is king, but I will still rule as Lord Protector. He called himself the Lord Protector of England.
Well, they always find something else. You just got to come up with another title.
Yeah. I mean, he took a salary. It was like the equivalent of $20 million today, but he was a man of the people. You know, he didn't like kings.
I can't relate at all today. Anyway, I've been
He lived
trying,
in the
James.
king's
I gave a
palaces,
whole.
but he's a very pious man. Very, very pious. Very, very godly man.
As long as he's not throwing military parades. Yes. We also are sending love to all of our Patreons at patreon.com/amynewman. And we'll send love out. We are Skeptic and Ranting on the one terrifying moment that forced Dave Smith to reject atheism. Come on. Especially theists that disagree with this.
Now, this guy,
tag us in chat.
He wasn't just an atheist. What kind of atheist was he, Amy?
Oh, he was a militant. They love that word.
Yes.
Like he was going around spreading his atheism.
Like he can't drive by a church without getting out and go and tell those people that they're stupid and fuck you guys and couldn't do it. Couldn't do it.
Militant. And that's exactly. You're never like an agnostic atheist or a vague atheist. It's always, James, I was a militant atheist. They love that word.
You can be a hard atheist sometimes.
Oh, I prefer making hard atheists, but yes. We're sending love out to all of the people out there, like Azo, reminding us we have a Skeptic and Ranting community. Oh, I'm going to cough in a second. Excuse me.
Cough it out.
There we go. Get it out of the system. Got to get on your knees sometime. Sending so much love to Chris Disciple, reminding us we have skeptics, theists in the Skeptics and Ranting community. Sending so much love to them. He gets on his knees for God. I get on my knees for
Tucker.
For Tucker. James, this is a gem of a video.
It really is. It came up in my feed and it just had all the right hallmarks. A beautiful conversion story, just full of emotion and beauty. And
I also just want to point out, it's not just Tucker Carlson. You're now in a network of Tucker Carlsons, and I feel like that's what makes this
a singularity of
Carlson.
Like they took him and they smashed him together in the Hadron Collider.
Some would say it's a Carsonality. I can't even make the joke.
They smashed him together, and they got frozen food came out of it.
I'm pretty sure. Yes, frozen
food
with a haircut on it.
Yeah. Like those, not good frozen, like those old cheap like dollar banquet meals that are like
one that has been left in the freezer for too long and has like that ice that has to be thawed out from only one side of the package.
You can't really open it. You have to kind of just rip through the cardboard. Yeah.
Sending so much love as well to Dale Pastel.
Thank you,
We're
Paul,
looking
for the great information there.
God is good and the devil is evil. But what if the devil is good and God is evil? Freaky Friday. What if they Freaky Friday?
Because God, you just add one other and he's good, and devil, you just take off the D and he's evil, right? It's kind of like baked into the language. Oh, God is good, and the devil, he's evil. He's a bad guy.
But what's up, Paul Yates? We hope you still feel comfortable. Come disagree with us, because that's what we want. We actually can't help ourselves. Sending so much love as well
You get a poll.
You can what?
You get a line, I'll get a poll.
Oh, yes. As well as I'll start to dance on the pole. To davegar, reminding us the world is 4.5 billion years old and round, and both of those things are equivalent. They kind of get angry when they get compared to flat earthers, but I mean,
they deserve it. Yeah, they deserve it.
Sending so much love to Rachel Holen. We remind everyone not to take slaves from the nations around you. You should probably just go to
the book says it's good. The book says I can do it.
Dave, and it's not just a book, but did you know it's a good book? I mean,
it is so good. Like, remember back when we were running through Exodus, and after all those horrible things God does to the Egyptian people, he finally gets his people out of Egypt, and the first thing he's got to do is give his people instructions for how to sell their children into slavery. Because
he's the good guy,
yeah.
again.
Because the parents owe somebody money, and some rich guy not getting their money back that they owe is the worst thing in the world. If you got to sell your kids into slavery to pay that rich guy back, you sell your fucking kids into slavery. You know?
Listen, you need to do what you need to do, and it actually says it's okay. So, listen,
it's like
what's
the
the market value
comes,
on selling your kids into slavery?
The repo guy comes, but he's not just taking your car; he's taking your kids.
Also sinister. That's probably true, but it's okay.
Oh, well,
again,
there you go.
It's not about how hard you are. It's about how hard you make everyone else along the way. What are we talking about? Slavery. Anyway, sponsored by estrogen or testosterone or whatever it is anyone likes. You do you, people. I always try and press them on God's gender. God has to be a guy. He has to have a big old. Definitely. What are we talking about, James? Sending.
We know sinister. We know. They're good jokes, so you gotta.
That's okay.
Play along.
Yes, and sing that song. Do. Is God asexual? He got Mary pregnant though. Also, I always bring up that
he doesn't want sex.
Is Jesus asexual? Because he didn't have sex, or so the claim goes.
So they claim, yeah.
But was he attracted to women? Was he like, damn, that's a fine ass, but I am such a perfect man that I am not gonna.
Because even having the thought is bad.
Well, then he is asexual because he never had sexual attraction, right?
Well, they could try to spin it like, oh well, he had this like perfect type of attraction that was not lustful. That's basically impossible, But in their idealized minds,
before who? There has to be someone.
I don't know
that like you eventually get attracted to. I don't know.
Peter, maybe. He seemed to really like.
He hung around. Here's the problem. Some of the jokes make themselves, but they make you wonder, like, why was he hanging around with all those guys?
But you could say the same thing for Jesse Lee Peterson being in a house with all them guys, and he's not interested in them.
James, do you know how I know that was just a bunch of gay orgies? Because it's always like, welcome to Camp Heterosexual. And you're like, oh, okay. I see what's going on here.
I'm your heterosexual camp counselor.
Exactly. All right, man. We need to dress down so that we can figure out how sexy women are. Step one, we're not going to have anything here. Oh, my goodness. Like I said, it makes its own jokes because it's just that is what happened, and he was caught. But James, you don't want a woman to do a man's job.
Did you know that some guys let women perform oral sex on them? That's disgusting.
That's the devil's mouth.
Yeah,
but that's also sodomy. Basically, sodomy is anything.
The textbook, yeah.
Yeah. As long as you're not doing it for the sake of making babies, you better be looking straight forward and thinking of Jesus while you're looking at her, apparently. I don't know how that works. James, it's okay. Jesus will save us. Hopefully 15% of car insurance. That or a lizard will do it for us. Let's send love also, finally, to sending love to Regos, reminding us we have a Skeptic Bible study. I'm about to have so much time. We're doing Oh my God, it's gonna feel good, James. I get a culturally accepted break. All right. There's many things I've been getting used to in the grading process. Having 2.5 months off is I'm ready for it.
Nice, huh?
A week or so away. Um Sending so much love to finally Ian Davenport reminding us that apologetic arguments are kind of crappy. And we're probably going to deal with one or two. Actually, they're not apologetic. We're dealing with really personal experience. I'm trying not to, however, give too much away because I want to be in the moment. But James, I'm going to hand it over to you for a second, and then we'll get into it. But we are skeptic and ranting on the one terrifying moment that forced Dave Smith to reject atheism. What do you think about these terrifying moments that force us into God?
Oh, yes. How's everybody doing tonight? Thanks for joining with us. I know there's been quite a lot of stuff going on in the world lately, hasn't there? It seems like we got chaos. We got chaos in the Middle East. We got chaos over here. Everything's blown up, but thanks for coming to spend a little bit of time for us to consider something that some gentleman that you guys may have known before. I believe his family used to sell frozen foods. Tucker Carlson, former Fox News host, turned YouTuber. I guess he's got his own media empire now. Obviously a Christian. He's got a guy on who's going to talk about his conversion story to Christianity. Before he was a militant atheist. That's what is a non-militant atheist? What is a militant? I don't know. Just one who's very, very sure of their atheism. One who's very upfront about it. Who doesn't hide it. He just wants everybody to know he's an atheist. I don't know. I mean, of course, they'll probably also tell you Lee Strobel was a militant atheist until he did research for his book, and then you're going to find out, no, he was converted well before he did the book based on his wife's conversion, and his entire thing was just a post hoc rationalization, which is perfectly obvious to anyone who reads it that this type of reasoning isn't going to really convince anybody. This is somebody who's already convinced, trying to work backwards and provide rational justification for it, to provide a logical sounding reason for a decision based on emotion. An emotional decision, he's going back and trying to underpin it with logic. And we're going to see something very similar in this case today too. And it's brings me back to a video I saw maybe a couple years ago, a lady who converted to Catholicism. And she was saying for her conversion that I guess she had children by this time in her life. And she said, well, the love that I have for my children, like that can't just be chemicals in my mind. It's got to be something more than that. Well, no, it doesn't. First of all, it does not have to be more than that, because as everybody knows, those chemicals in your mind can be pretty damn powerful. So it does not have to be more than that. It can just be that. But that's an emotional reaction, an emotional decision. And then, of course, those really only apply to the person having them. A lot of these anecdotal stories or epiphanies that they have, they're not very convincing. People claim that they have feelings, they just know certain things. It's really not convincing to anybody else except for them. So they have to try to underpin it with logic, give other reasons they put forward, but these are not really the reasons that they believe. They're not really the reasons that God brought them to belief. those are usually different, and that's a completely separate line of inquiry once you move past the reasons they try to show or demonstrate to be logical. And then you have reasons that really only work amongst each other, that even they really know are not very convincing, but they just say them to each other. Oh, this person's it must be convincing to him. Like you get those kinds of things with like resurrection narratives, things like that. Like, oh, the evidence for the resurrection is so strong, and they say a few things, a few Bible verses. Yeah, oh yeah, it's very strong. How could anybody doubt the resurrection? What? Quite easily, actually, considering we have no good evidence for it. Considering the same book that talks about Jesus resurrecting talks about other people resurrecting and walking around the city, dead, righteous dead people. They don't like to talk about that, because that's certainly something that would have been recorded if it was true, if it happened, but it's not. In fact, you can look at just when you're talking to these Christians, they cite sources. Especially when they're trying to provide evidence for the existence of Jesus, and they've got like 3 or 4 go-to sources that they can crank out, and they're not really very good. Most of the sources aren't really talking about Jesus. They're talking about Christians, which we already know existed. They are talking about things that other people told them. They're not claiming to have directly seen Jesus or interacted with him. So they're basically admitting this is hearsay. I heard this. Somebody said this. This is just folklore in the region. But then you look at all the historians and writers that were in that region, around the 1st century, from the early time of Jesus till decades after his supposed crucifixion, and they don't say anything about him. Lots of people, authors who wrote treatises on religion in the area, they don't mention Jesus at all. Not a peep. We're supposed to believe he's that his existence is the same level of evidence as like Julius Caesar, Alexander the Great. Yeah. They don't even really believe that. That's just something they say to each other. They don't really believe that. It's just something they say to each other. They don't really believe it. They can't really defend it, but like the 500 witnesses saw him. Well, can we talk to any of them? I'd say 500 witnesses saw Amy jump over the moon, but you're not talking to any of them. Well, yeah, Tacitus. These and the few quotes that there are, a lot of them are very, very spurious, very doubtful historically, and they don't seem to fit within the context. It almost looks like somebody just annotated it after the fact. But a lot of that gets lost in today, where they take everything and they translate it into English. Like the Old Testament, you lose a lot because they take several different languages and they translate it all into English. It sounds like a much more coherent narrative, but you don't hear all the different names they're using for God in the Old Testament, like how that varies, because they take several different names and translate it all into God, Lord, Elohim, but it looks a lot more like a coherent narrative, but that's just the appearance of it. You even get competing stories like the creation in Genesis, where you have back to back 2 slightly different, some ways not slightly different stories. Well, the scribes, they came across one, read it, they came across another one, they didn't know which one was correct or right, so they just copied it both. I don't know, sort of close enough. I don't know which one's the right. And Yeah, and then we have to deal with these Christians saying there's no contradictions in the Bible. That's horseshit. Of course, there's contradictions. Even they're so excited when they find a manuscript, like, oh, we found a manuscript from Isaiah that was 100 years before the last manuscript of Isaiah that we had, and it looks just like today. It's so similar. See, God's word is preserved. Even if we had a perfectly preserved presentation of the Bible, which we don't, is man-made. These texts that are in there, it's just a selection. It's an amalgamation of different texts that were floating around and selected. But even if it's all the Word of God, even if every word of it's inspired, well, that would just tell us what it says. We would still have no idea what it actually means. What does it actually mean? Well, there you go. Because the Christians, they don't even agree about that. They all agree it's the Word of God, but they all have vastly different interpretations of what it actually means. What do you actually have to believe? And there's scarcely a verse in the New Testament that they all agree on. Scarcely a chapter that they all have a different take, a different view, a different interpretation, and yet they tell us this is the book that we need to pay attention to and believe. Well, believe what exactly? Because they all have slightly different versions, and they're still debating this stuff. This is not the type of stuff that is going to base your eternity on. If it was, that would be really fucked up.
And all right,
go ahead.
I think we are going to head into our main event.
Fine.
But we have been and are Skeptic and Ranting on I Was a Militant Atheist. One terrifying moment that forced us to reject atheism, or rather this Dave Smith person, sending love to comedians
Agent
everywhere.
Smith.
Agent Smith. Yes. But you're right, James. They don't even agree on their own texts. And so,
what it actually means.
Slavery is a good example. They, will argue on which interpretation is the more either accurate or, I would say, more gentle, because there's one that will be more direct on you need to own these slaves, or they'll call them slaves. Then others will call them chattel. Sometimes it'll switch, and religion. But
all these over rules, like, oh, then this slave can go free, and that slave, and no, that one serves for life, and no, that one goes free after 50 years, that one after 7 years, this one never.
Yes, indeed. There's actually a tiered system in which Jews get 50 years, about maximum. And of course, there's also loopholes for, even if you are Jewish, for making them stay by asking them, well, hey, we're going to keep your wife and we're going to keep your children. So who do you really want to stay with? You want to go out there and live your life, or do you want to live with your family? And so if you want to live with your family, well, by golly, all I got to do is put an awl through your ear and you can be a slave for life. Yeah. Are you ready, James? Let's get into it. We are watching a video from, I want to say it as often as possible, the Tucker Carlson Network. That's right, where we are watching I Was a Militant Atheist, one terrifying moment that forced to reject atheism. Let's see why.
Find in your life, this is a quiz I give a lot of people, more people personally talking about God than you did, say, 10 years ago?
Yes, And I am that person. I mean, I was an atheist 10 years ago.
What happened?
We
I had my
hear this
daughter.
a lot. Oh,
Yeah.
James got sent away for a second by Satan. He'll be right back. But right away, we hear this often. You know, I was an atheist. However, I would say the vast majority of atheists used to be theists. Not all, but especially if you come from, you know, the United States.
That's, you know, as I found God the day my wife delivered our first child. And
Really? And that's interesting because part of the reason why I wanted to show this video is because if we were to just start from the beginning, I often ask, you know, where are these videos or these declarations that say, I had a great time and then I found God? It's always something terrible happened. And there I was, and nothing else was working. So why not reach out to the invisible man in the sky? What's up, Sir Little Wolf? Woo! And so, it's because you had a child? I mean, that is a joyous occasion, a celebration. Tell us more.
which is a fairly common experience. I know other people who have had
Finding
the same
God
thing, were
for a
atheists
baby?
until that moment. And
Okay.
What changed in you?
so, all right. So it was basically, so I met
My Tucker.
my, so,
What
you know, it's a
changed?
fairly normal story, but I met my
Mhm.
wife and we got engaged and then
Fantastic.
we got married. So my wife's like the most amazing chick. She's just great. And I know this is, it's always a thing to say. It's like my wife's better than your wife type thing. But everybody who knows my wife, and I mean you, I've never met your wife,
Of
but
course.
she is better. And
Just a little odd. Okay. But I get, like, it was playful, but then that was just a little, but she is.
just kidding.
No, I don't.
but
I don't
she's-
hear people compliment their spouses enough. Actually,
Yeah,
I don't.
You know what? Your wife is better than my wife. As Tucker just sits there and takes it. No, you should say that more.
I don't think everyone always says that. I wish people
Yeah,
said
maybe
that
you're right.
more often.
Well, I do. You know, it's not me. She's really just the best.
What's up,
Everyone who knows
Dave?
her would agree. I mean, like, it's just like, she's like the most amazing woman. She's just gorgeous and she's really super smart and she's really
Like, I'm glad he is defending, selling, advertising, promoting his wife. But
sweet and kind. And she's just like, she puts everyone above herself. She's
but
like,
Tuffy
I
and
really
Davenport.
hit the lottery with her. And I was never, you know, I was like
I'm glad you
habitually
love your wife.
single. I was never a relationship guy.
Yes.
And I never really wanted to get married. I kind of always had this view of like, you know, women are trying to cheat.
She was never a relationship guy. She never thought that she was going to settle down until they found Jesus coming this far. Okay.
Change you or trying to control you. Every girl that I ever dated always wanted a relationship and then they always wanted me to not do this or not do that. And
Yes.
my wife was she just had my
Okay.
back. She just always like wanted to make my life better. And she did. And I fell in love with her.
Wow.
And I was like, I'm going to
Wow.
spend the rest of my
Yeah,
life
that sounds like a partner. Okay.
with this woman. And so then we when she got pregnant, I was just very excited. It was like, you know, you just got married, got a baby on the way. I was just like, this is the best. Like,
This is the best. I also just want to point out, and we're 2 minutes in, and I want to say that I was only lightly touching on this with James, but I always vibe naturally with comedians, okay? And a libertarian, whatever the heck he is still a comedian at the end of the day, and I think comedians try to be relatable. There are a few moments in this where I think, you know, okay, he says regular okay things, and then of course we'll get into the points where I think it just becomes a traditional, you know, well, I don't want to spoil. I said I wouldn't. Welcome back, James. Let's continue. We are skeptically ranting on I was a militant atheist.
I'm sure every phone is out texting Tucker to 44055 for exclusive updates.
Tucker me, baby.
I'm really excited
Hey,
to
Dave.
do this. And I was right. It was the best thing I've ever done. And so
having a baby.
The day
Okay.
that was well, she was over her due date. So then they scheduled to come in to induce
The
pregnancy because
repossession?
they don't let you go too long
No, they
these
don't.
days. Which I guess is maybe they're right about that.
Maybe they're right. Yeah, the doctors.
But I don't know. But anyway, so we go to the hospital.
They get the
But,
Pitocin out.
Yes, that's right.
Again,
so we're
a joke. I need to allow him to make jokes. That's not the
Lenox Hill
problem.
Hospital on the Upper East Side of Manhattan, and
Very soon, I'll be closing the doors to my jewelry boutique forever.
Oh, James, I have
This is your-
I forgot.
by
to
the way, I
switch
should
back
add,
over.
just leading into the story. I had been like a militant atheist when I was younger. I had started to
Oh,
open
tell
up
us.
my mind a little bit to being like, I was
I
seeing some of the
love
holes in the
the militant atheist, because again,
Holes in it.
this is what we get told. You're not just a passive atheist, James. You're not just an agnostic or a skeptic. Militant. They were spreading atheism wherever they go.
atheist arguments, but I still was not like a believer in God. And
Of course.
so we were
What he said there is that, he was obviously the atheist arguments were falling apart, but he hadn't coming over to Team God yet.
at Lenox Hill Hospital, and this was the first one. This is how it started. Was the
Take us back.
anesthesiologist came in to give my wife an epidural, and at Lenox Hill, or at least this guy,
It's weird. I thought
No,
this is such a happy, joyous occasion.
They all do this, all hospitals.
they asked me to leave the room.
Yeah, they all
They ask the fathers to leave the room when they do it, because they're putting a spinal thing in, and you have to be very, very precise.
horrifying to
Yeah,
see it,
right.
yeah.
So and they don't want, I guess they don't want you there to react because then she might react.
Exactly right.
And so they don't want to. So I go at, and
And she can't see what's happening.
right. She can't see, but she could see you seeing. And so they want
Exactly.
people with a straight poker face who have seen this a lot of times and are not watching it happen to their wife and baby, So it's a reasonable ask. But so I go out and I'm in the hallway in the maternity ward at Lenox Hill Hospital. And I'm just, and it just hit me. It was like for the first time, I guess I had not really thought about this. I was just so excited to get my family started. But for the first time, it hit me that like something could go wrong.
Yeah. It's almost like your God is going to allow something bad to happen or could happen.
Planes fall out of the sky. Tornadoes go through people's houses. Hurricanes flood cities. Bad things can happen. Things can go wrong.
Bad things can happen. But I also you can notice the slow transition, not to be, use that word, but it was like, I found God because, oh my God, baby, to, oh no.
And that I could leave here alone. Like something could go wrong, that I could lose the baby, I could lose my wife, and it's totally out of my control. And like as this started hitting me, I started like really getting emotional. And it's like I'm out there and I'm crying in the hallway of this maternity ward. And immediately I just started talking to God. And I just started not just talking to God, but
God, is that you, God? I hear you. You're coming through the walls. No, you're in a hospital. We have an intercom. Oh, okay.
like negotiating with God. And I was just like, like, dear Lord, if you make sure that they're okay, I'm going to do I'm going to be the best husband, the best father. And
okay. We've heard this a lot before. I think
I'll suck every guy's dick I see. I'll be the best dick sucker ever. Mr. Batman will envy me.
What I find so surprising is how generic. Again, we can't,
We're
fight what kind of story or choose what kind of story we have, but you're bargaining because you got nothing.
we're in a first world country. He's in a hospital with doctors. Probably 99% of women who go into labor in those situations and the babies survive, right? Even though sometimes, there are complications, but the vast majority of the time there aren't. So if something that's 99% likely to be okay, if that's okay, it must be God. I mean, you know, if I don't get killed in my car on the way to work tomorrow, is that God? Did God make me not get into an accident?
But it also puts God in this weird situation where it's like, well, God wants to kill your baby, but like now you're starting to, you know,
You're
we're starting
negotiating.
yeah, exactly. We're starting to barter a little bit. You know, you do exactly what I want and say, and how about this? I won't kill your kid.
Otherwise, I mean, you know, there's a lot of things that can happen in a hospital. You like that wife, yeah. Maybe she'll have a heart failure. Yeah. You like your baby. You like your son. Maybe he can have the
Or
umbilical cord wrap around his neck and die. Yeah, I
Or
could do things.
maybe you could just, you know, say my name every night. You know, I like it said to me over and over. All right.
We'll do this, and you know, like all the different things in
Had
your life.
you ever prayed before?
No, never once in my life. And it all, you know, like all the things that you know you're supposed to be
I
doing
find
that,
that hard to
you're doing that
believe.
well.
But okay.
You know, like I was like,
I know I wasn't gonna say it, but it's like, because how could we possibly prove whether he's? But that's one of those where
Still,
we just have to take his word for it. But exactly, I find that hard to believe too.
okay, I'll clean this up. You know, I'll call my mom more often. I'll do this thing. I'll do. And so anyway, so I just started like praying to God, and not just praying, but like negotiating. So anyway, everything was fine with that. But my wife, this was the first of many
Going
times she had
through the stages almost of grief. Okay.
I'll pick up my dog's poop at the dog park. Okay, I will. I promise. I really will, God. Please don't fucking kill my wife and my baby.
Please. And God eventually, there's some sort of wager apparently in there to which God will say, okay.
All right. Okay. I guess they could make it out. I mean,
but that also means, I mean, continuing on with this logic, that if your child does get cancer, that you weren't praying to God hard enough.
You had nothing to bargain with, you know.
No cards, James.
complications in the pregnancy. Everyone came out okay, thank God. But so I ended up talking to God a lot that day.
Yeah, because you were freaking the out, right? It's not because, again,
he's real.
I tried to point out, at least at the beginning, how he's made it seem like, why did you come to God? Because of my baby. Oh, my baby was born. What a joyous moment. Oh, that's why you found God? Can you tell me a little bit about that? Oh, yeah. He almost died, and I had anxiety attacks up until the point that the doctors made sure that he was okay. Oh.
They gave me a shot of Demerol and threw me in the closet to until they were done. But no, it's like 2 years ago. Remember when the football player, he had the cardiac arrest on the field, and everybody on TV in the stadium, they're all just waiting, watching as the medical staff came out, took him to, the hospital and everything. And the Christians, they love that because, oh, look, everybody in America was praying. Everybody was praying to God that football player, that he wouldn't die. Well, yeah, because at that point, there's absolutely nothing anybody in those stands, anybody watching can do. The only thing they could possibly do is hope that there's a magical God out there and that, hey, this young man out here playing football, he probably shouldn't die.
And can I highlight and connect it, just like you were saying?
Go ahead.
Is that this is all this guy could do.
Right.
All he could do was hope, because the true heroes of the story were, again, the nurses, the doctors, the people actually assisting in making sure that there was a successful delivery.
Right.
The true heroes.
Yeah. modern medicine, because
Modern medicine.
yeah, because he's in a first world nation, in a hospital with doctors who went to medical school, know what they're doing, with a trained nursing staff. Under those conditions, the vast majority of the time, there's a safe and healthy delivery. But you still are nervous about it, right? Because there's always a chance there could be complications, and it's tedious when you're waiting. There's nothing you can do, so the only thing you can do is appeal to God. Oh God.
And it's a very real moment. I get that everything was happy and sunshine, and now something could potentially shake up starting a family. That is an amazing thing to have. I was just talking about earlier, we were going over why family is so important, and yet it's not a good reason to believe in God. I still will continue to look for people who find God under non-duress. And although that's what it sounded like at the beginning, I mean, this could not be a more perfect example of someone having no ability to affect the situation, saying, well, I might as well try negotiating with God.
Because it can't hurt, right? If he's not there, then okay, you can't hurt anything, right? So hey, they figure, what have I got to lose?
Pascal's wager, exactly.
Right.
As the days went on,
it's so interesting. It's organic.
Well, that's
a lifetime of not believing, and
Is
then
it though?
Yes.
You just start.
And so
praying.
this is almost like what intellectually, converted me later. Was I was like, hey, what the hell?
God damn, gosh darn it. Oh, because I'm okay. Whatever.
Cock and balls.
People you know personally talking about.
Gosh darn it.
And I just started not just talk, and like all the different things in
Had
your
you
life.
ever prayed before?
No, back and just ignore that.
Here's the facts of life, believing, and then
Pregnancy. Everyone came out okay. So anyway, everything was fine with that. But my wife, this was the first of many times. She had there were a bunch of complications in the pregnancy. Everyone came out okay, thank God.
So amazing, everything came out okay. It probably wasn't from the negotiating with God, because I mean, I guess we can't prove that, but again, going into the logistics of it, seems like you better do what God says, because if you don't, God, he let your child be born and your wife be okay, but he can take those away. Just takes a snap.
He did it to Job.
But so I ended up talking to God a lot that day.
Yeah.
And then just like
because you're
as the
freaking
days
out.
went on,
it's so interesting. It's organic.
Well, that's
a lifetime of not believing, and then you just start.
And so
praying.
this is almost like what intellectually,
there we
converted me later.
So again, I think it's funny that he understands that that's not a good intellectual reason,
Right,
because again, that really is emotional duress.
I was like, hey, what the hell was that? I mean, I can't look back and just ignore that.
You freaking out?
Here's the facts of life.
Yeah, you can. You can say that was a fluke. I'm going to ignore that.
What's up, Sigma Whale Grind Set? The absolute state of Reddit tier skepticism. That's right, baby. What can I tell you? We're sending you a piping hot plate of skepticism. But welcome, one and all. We don't care. Love us, hate us. We still love you. We are Skeptic and Ranting on I Was a Militant Atheist. One terrifying moment that forced us, well, really, his hosts, to reject atheism. But he's about to have an advertisement, so we're going to skip it.
Not learn until you're older, but it may be impossible. Takova's made first time with over 200 compromise between Takova's amount, which on text alerts.
Yeah, go to tuckermyballs.com.
And there was one, again, I'm almost a little uncomfortable talking about these things because I like talking about things where I have like a real tight argument that I can prove is irrefutable.
But
he's like conceding, like, yeah, I know it's not like a good argument, and Tucker's like, yeah, it's not, but that's even better.
Yes, exactly. You got to understand, the less logic that you use, the less science that you use, the better.
This is a more
Refutable,
profound argument,
but
actually.
it was
Very
something where I was like,
profound.
look, so in the moment when it was really all on the line and out of my control, I wasn't thinking maybe God exists. I knew for a 100% certainty.
Yo, and this is so precept.
Based
I
on
know
what?
like he's not a precept, but I love this. We get this sometimes from them.
Like nothing I've ever known in my life, that not only did I know that God existed, but I knew what he wanted from me. Like I knew what my
Because he's right in here. Right in that noggin.
But I mean, this is like a variant of like the "there's no atheist in foxholes" argument, which, you know, you're in combat. Yeah, people. That's another one of those situations where you might not come out of it alive, and a lot of that's not necessarily dependent on you. It's dependent on luck. It's dependent on other circumstances. You have very little control over it. If a mortar hits your foxhole, it's going to be a rough day for you.
And I would also point out, it has been said to me that I would rather people not be praying to God in a foxhole, but instead focusing on the situation at hand.
There you go.
I get it. There's going to be times where you really can't do anything but wait. However, I'd rather us be focusing on the task at hand. Let's get back into it.
Negotiating power in this is that I could you know what I'm saying? Like I could promise I'll be a good person. I'll do. So not only did I know God existed, I knew that God.
But I knew that all I had to do to save my children was to stop being such a scumbag. Again, I don't think he is one. What I'm saying is this is what this argument. I mean, we're all better people than, hopefully better people than we were before. You know, even a few years ago. But like, I just think it's ridiculous. Like, they wrap it, they sell it. You know what I mean? Like,
it sounds really good, but when you think about it, like God's watching the hospital room, and it's like, you know,
but you're bartering for their lives.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, the father of that baby's a scumbag. That baby's gonna die. You know, like that's a calculation God would make.
I also, does it still work if you pray to the devil? I mean, how do you know who you got their lives to continue living from? I don't know. It's just once you start getting into magic bartering, it seems to get a little bit sketchy. But yeah,
wanted me to be a good person. And there was.
What does that even mean?
Something that people who have found God
you
know.
could have already been a good person. You didn't need to trade your lives of your wife and child.
No, and people who don't believe in God maybe will not accept. But there is something to.
We don't, unfortunately.
When you open yourself up like that to God, like you find out that he's real. And it's not like.
But your evidence was you already knew he was real. It's just you walked in and we're just you're sitting there in the hospital, you know, basically on a WhatsApp with God, just trying to talk with him, being like, look, I'll put her and him over here. And then on this side, I'm not going to be so much of it soul anymore. All right. Are we good? Are we good? Swap. I'm hitting yes to agreement. Yeah. Yeah.
He speaks to you or he hallucinates. I don't like see a
Amazing.
fiery bush in the words of God started talking, but like he fills you. Like you, when you open yourself like that to it, you get filled by it. And there's no more debate in your mind over whether that's a real phenomenon or not. You're like, and any more than like, if I were to leave here and someone were to be like, do you believe in Tucker Carlson?
And again, we hear the shiznick all the time, James. He's as real to me as my mama, my papa, my wife, my children. Oh, James got summoned by Satan again. But we hear this type of nonsense. It's not. Like, I wish that your claims were as empirical as seeing other people. Just like we can prove to people who are colorblind or even blind that we can either see color or see things. We have empirical tests.
And like, I'd be like, no, I know for certain, I know for a certainty that Tucker Carlson
just
exists.
with him,
I was just with him. It's like that. And so it was, and it changed my life. And ever since I regularly pray to God. It's something I'm conscious of every single day.
No,
Well, you have to. If you don't stop, apparently your wife and child are going to be taken again by the good guy.
Every day. And always, I don't even,
Every day I pray. I have to. That's the contract that I made. Or again, they die.
pray exactly. I don't ask for things ever. I ask for one thing ever.
I just want to point out again, it's a human mistake, but I just like I don't ask for anything. I ask for one thing. And of course, what he's about to say. Okay.
From God, which is that my wife and my kids are healthy and safe.
Well, no, that's what you bartered, apparently. That's all you ask for. I know. Again, if you sold your soul to the devil, that's all you would have to ask for, too. You would have to. Don't ask for any other gifts. I just want them to live. But okay.
It's the only thing I ever pray for. I don't ask for anything. The only other thing that I do is I express gratitude. God, I just say thank you for
so
everything
happy.
I have. So that's
which again is to say my wife and child. Which I want listen, as much as I'm joking, I want your wife and child to be okay. I'm glad that everything did turn out okay. It's just I want the proper thanks to the people who did it. And that is to say, the nurses, I don't know, I don't think they're EMTs in this situation, but doctors, surgeons, the people that actually tended to your wife, the people who were there not only when she was getting the epidural, as you were explaining, which sounded like a heck of a time getting in there, but delivery, postnatal care, all of the things that actually went into, and people and time and energy into ensuring that your wife and your child were having a healthy delivery, which, as James was saying, is what we want in a first world, in any world, a society. We want in a advanced society. All right. I feel bad continuing forward so much without James here. Though I know he has to go to work eventually as well. But we are Skeptic and Ranting on I Was a Militant Atheist. We have this comedian telling us one terrifying moment that forced him to reject atheism. He is on the Tuck Buck. He is on Tucker Carlson's network. It's hard to make fun of him because I will continue to tell people I have a very specific ethnicity, and that is comedian. As rusty as I felt, my brain has been coming off. And it feels so good to be podcasting again. Oh, and I want to produce so much more. Oh my goodness. We need a stronger skeptic atheist community out there. Sending so much love. That plug, though I'm doing an intermission trying to see if I can wait out for James to come join us. But it's just that his reason for finding God is not a good one. It should not win other people over. I understand it emotionally. Intellectually, I think it falls apart. I think he understands that it is not a good intellectual reason to believe in God. And ultimately, welcome back, James. And listen, emotions. Oh, he was here, then he was gone. He pulled a David Copperfield. Emotions get shizzed on a lot, sometimes for good reason. If we want to talk about the age of the earth, if we want to talk about how humans came to be as a species, then it's not a democracy. It's not subjective. It's not about how I feel about the shape or the age of the earth. And yet, welcome back, James.
And now I'm back for real.
And so there's some subjects that, when we talk about our favorite color, when we talk about our favorite ice cream, I would even dare I say, because Soros, again, pays us by the hour to say it, I would dare say gender and sexuality,
Your favorite
all of
gender?
that stuff, your favorite gender, is a subjective element. And yet, I think that's not appropriate when we're trying to communicate a being that supposedly is the creator of the universe. And so, I want to properly poo-poo emotions when we're dealing with specific issues while still appreciating emotions. I understand why emotionally he's freaking out when you almost lose your first child, any child, but when you're losing, starting. Yes, I think it was just complicated.
He's worried about it.
He's just worried about it. Exactly. His mind is starting to see scenarios, as I think many parents do. Not to be stereotypical or whatever, but I have a Jewish mother. Every day it's a worry, and I love her. Best mother. I wouldn't trade her for the world. But he's just feeling what it's like to be a parent, kind of, for the first. Honestly, that is what's happening, James. He's just feeling what it's like to be a parent for the first time. When they don't call you and you just imagine a million different scenarios, and they're like, oh no, we just decided to see 2 movies instead of 1. And you're like, you weren't kidnapped and flown to another country in which they tried to sell you into slavery? They're like, oh no, it's just, it was
the Bible?
Free popcorn refills. I know, what is this, the Bible? But okay, James, we are going to land it. The main thesis of this is just, I was scared that I wasn't going to have my wife and child, therefore God. I bartered and got them back.
That's the extent of it. But I think that I cannot overstate how much I think that's made me a better person.
Really?
Yeah, just it's very, very good for you to constantly remind yourself how lucky you are that you have
that God hasn't killed your wife and child.
Have all the things that you have. It's very easy to get away from that, and that's where you ruin your inner happiness, your inner joy.
Yes, when you don't think about God hanging that over you.
You start taking the things you have for granted, because once you when you think you could lose everything you already have and then you don't, that's when you really appreciate it. You really appreciate how lucky we all are.
Well, not to be too blunt or too personal, but you're on the cusp of change in your life on the basis of what's happened in the last month in your life. I've just seen this story so many times.
Yeah.
So to be vulgar, your income in this year will be higher than last year. I'm just telling you that.
So instead of us taking hours and hours and hours to search for a song that sounds like some of our favorite songs that we listen to,
because you're way more famous and you're also on the right side of history, I think.
Yeah, I hope so.
And certainly on the right side of popular opinion.
I'm gonna try not
so
to.
Do you think? The danger in life is getting what you want.
Trying not hard to push back on that, but when the rights are going backwards, that tends to mean that you're not on the good side. But okay, let's go forward.
Yourself unhappier. Are you worried about that?
No.
James, can I just point out, just real quickly, does it look like Tucker is about to go on a safari?
I guess, yeah. Yeah, he's the style of the sweater he's got on, like a vest style, yeah.
Listen, I'm not trying to go for low blows, okay? I'm just saying I feel like he'd be very comfortable if he had a scimitar in his hand and he was going through the jungle right now looking for things to shoot. Anyway, forward.
Getting what you want and finding yourself unhappier. Are you worried about that?
No, I'm really not. And I do just think that it's because, again, if this was happening to me at 25 or at 30, I would be very concerned about that danger. Literally, like what I just told you is kind of already happened in my life.
Yes.
I know who I am as a person. I kind of know what money actually means. Like, there's lots of nice things. I'm not downplaying money. It's very important, particularly in my position. It's very important for me to be able to protect my wife and kids, that we have some money, you know what I mean, so that I can do that.
Yes,
trying to pretend it's not all about
I'm really
money.
not worried about that at this point.
I like that. Again, there's some things I like about this guy. The problem is not who he is as a human being. It's that his argument for believing in God is
abysmal.
I've kind of like my wife herself is a very grounding force for me.
Yes.
She's the person whose approval I seek.
Yes.
She's the person whose opinion I really care about.
That marriage,
you know,
yes.
and so like that's and she keeps me very grounded. Also, just as you know,
also you're very whipped. It's kind of hot. Continue.
You know, having these little kids just keeps you grounded because they just don't care at all.
Like
It's
literally
just
at all.
My 6-year-old the other day we were out to dinner. And so we're out to dinner, we're sitting down, my wife, my 6-year-old girl, and my 3-year-old boy, and the owner of the restaurant is like a fan of mine. So he comes over to the table, he goes, "Oh, thank you guys so much for coming. I just wanted to shake your hand. I really appreciate everything
He was fangirling.
you're doing." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that." So he leaves, and then
What's up, absurdist? Please do say something. Either agree, disagree. We love it all. As long as you obey the TOS gods, we are good to go. But welcome.
daughter, my 6-year-old, who's kind of 17, but she's 6. She turns over at me and she goes, "Why'd he come over and say hi to you, Dad? Because you're famous." And it just looks, and then just turned right back to her menu. I mean, it was like she could not have just undercut me more than that. And I was like, "Yeah, I guess I'm not really that cool." All right, but that stuff helps.
It's the best.
So I'm really lucky that I didn't have this moment 15 years ago that I had it now. So I think I'll be good. But then, you know, you cut back to me in a year. I come back here, I got like the shades on or something. It's totally ruined me.
Yes, I'm glad you are grounded as a human being. You seem pretty cool. I'd share a beer with you. The fact that your wife and child were able to survive and she had a successful birth is not evidence for God. Can we agree, James?
Yeah. Yeah, that happens all the time, all day, every day.
Yep.
Pellegrino, not Perrier.
Pellegrino, not Perrier. Ooh. Pellegrino is better, but Perrier is fine.
Oh, come on, baby. This is the stuff that I want, though. I can't help it. His argument for belief is the transcendent. We love transcendental arguments for God, so we'd be up for that. And supernatural, though I always say supernatural is a politically correct word because it can mean whatever. As valid your argument as your gender identity. But I'd push back on that because gender identity is a social phenomena. Like, it's just feminine, masculine. We have a spectrum. The spectrum doesn't mean 57. It's just like a dial, how feminine or masculine. And I believe there's good evidence for that to exist within sociology and psychology. And I think that transcendental arguments and those from the supernatural come from theology. I think the best that you guys get is philosophy, and philosophy is an outdated tool that we sometimes use philosophy for hypothesizing, and it's maybe the intro as we start the beginning tier of science, the scientific process, and yet we eventually have to graduate from that and go out into the field and collect data and all of that. And you're not going to find that in philosophy, and you're not going to find that definitely in theology. But I'm open-minded. Welcome, Sigma. I love it. We're bring the
Gender's
fun, the
also
fuzz. All genders.
Arbitrary. It's words. It's how we define words. And
James,
those are arbitrary.
You have no idea how maddening it is. I mean, as someone who's listened to me probably complain about this subject for hours and hours and hours, you know what my shtick is. But it's one of those things. I'm coming up on year 20 now of transitioning. And so it's like, I don't know, imagine doing something for 20 years and someone comes along and they're like, oh, it's just a phase. You're just doing it because it's trendy. And you're like, Pilates? They're like, no, transgender. And you're like, oh, that. We're still doing that? You're right. That was so 2000s, 2010s, and so apparently 2020s. But it's new, James. It's new. I'm doing it because it's trendy.
A year from now, you'll be back. You'll be over. You'll be out of your system.
Exactly. And of course, I base my entire identity on it. However, they want you to meet them at Sunday or Friday or Saturday, depending on the religion.
Spend forever with them.
I agree.
Great it is.
Absurdist, that's a good point, however. So I'll give it to you. So these saying that Tucker is not a good representative of the other side of the table. The Matt Dillahunty is coming out in back of me, which is to say, by all means, who is the good representative of theism? Yeah. Because we would love to see them, and then probably
he's pretty representative of a lot of them. I mean, maybe not the intellectual peak. You know, he's not a theologian, but he does represent a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, and
the
you know,
peak.
As much as we're making fun of the comedian, I'm sure that's a very relatable story. We want our, our spouses and our children to be happy and healthy. A harrowing moment, but that's not a good reason. Again, and I keep on saying, I'm looking for a time where people start to believe. Oh, yeah, what's up, Cliff? Sending so much love, Cliff. And yes, he is a creationist. I will say we criticize mostly creationists, so we cover a whole bunch of others.
He is, but he gets kind of vague on. He's not like he's got to be young Earth, but he doesn't say like he probably is towards that camp, but he might allow for some nuance. But
yeah, I mean, depends on the theist. I'd say we even prefer theists who believe in evolution and the Big Bang and things like that. Problem is, we sometimes get, like Ontangelo uses the Big Bang as evidence. And I've seen others try and use evidence. They'll say that's why we know that there was a beginning to the universe. And then I say, well, you do believe in the Big Bang? And they say, well, no, but you do. And you go,
well, I mean, but you've also seen a Christian try to use reincarnation as evidence for God.
Yes. I found it very interesting going up against the Hindu.
Gavin.
Oh, Gavin?
Gavin. Yeah, Gavin. Remember the story about the little boy who thought he was a fighter pilot for World War II? He could tell you the plane that he flew and where he got shot down at. And that's evidence for Christianity.
That is evidence for Christianity, yes. I haven't seen Gavin in forever. Our pantsless apologist. He's supposed to be under my desk. He must have escaped. Gonna have to find him again. But sending so much love, James.
He's at the vending machine with Mr. Batman.
I bet he is. He's definitely somewhere having a party. We'll probably go for a few more minutes.
There we go for a few more. You're right, sir. I can go all night, sir.
I can go all night. We have one pastor who goes for 18 hours. So he studies the Bible 18 hours. We were so honored that he could take his time off to talk with us.
We did a 13-hour stream. We did a
my
13-hour
God.
stream with that.
All
that-
because
that-
of
that
a
pastor.
bet. And it was worth
bet.
it to say we've did it, but oh my God, I don't think we'll ever top 13 hours.
Remember, we had Peter, and Peter is not going to let anything go. He's going to stop the video every single
Oh
time
my God.
the preacher says something
That was fun,
stupid
though.
in his video. It was fun. The preacher said a lot.
But
of
yes,
stupid
we've had people that have had, both snoo with God, with Satan, with
demons.
angels, with demons, has top God, bottom God. At least God's not getting around.
By God, gay God.
Just kidding. I was a militant, no longer militant, still atheist, work for a Christian organization, the Salvation Army. Oh, well, Salvation Army is kind of Christian. I know they have the cross on there, but, they focus generally.
Quasi-Christian.
Yeah. The reason that they have that cross is because they inherited it from the European branch, but I don't
they
think
less
it's
religious with
supposedly. I don't think they're really focused on. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, because I teach about her. The founder was a woman of the American branch, if I remember, and so if they allow women teachers and it's focused on healing, it tends to be more reformist and stuff like that. But that's the tightrope that we walk, is that we want more liberal theists, but we have a woman chaplain. Yep, there you go. That sounds
Chaplain
about right.
Charlie? No Chaplain Charlie.
No, more like Charlie Chaplin in this era. Oh my goodness. We are going to do a whole bunch of fun up and coming. I want to do, like I said before, more talking about evolution because we can't help ourselves. More skeptic Bible studies. Send in love, DBK, though we're about to head off. But hopefully we're sending you some love and good vibes out there as you do your paper. Anything else, James, that is on your mind? Oh, might have either gone away for a second or got summoned by Satan.
Oh no, I'm here. Oh, I thought you realized I was muted.
But anything else before we start to wrap things up?
I don't think so. No. We can get her wrapped up.
All right. In the coming weeks, I'd also want to do more open mics. I know that we have been doing more just blabbing ourselves. However, I'm looking forward to it. We are going to do exactly. And
you have a debate in a week.
Have a debate. Looking forward to debating gender. Ooh. Sending love to James at Modern Day Debate and the whole Modern Day Debate community. Sending love to everyone here in the Skeptic and Ranting community, as well as everybody coming to visit for the first time. Though, by all means, come and join us. Mwahaha. I have a kid that does that. That's our favorite thing in our household. Sending love.
What's that?
He just, and I whenever he gets in trouble or he's doing something, he takes a toy or something from another friend, he will go mwahahaha, almost like a cartoon villain laugh. And it's something we do in our household because we think it's so freaking cute.
That is cute.
But yes, I'm so happy though. As much as I had a great bunch this year. I'm so proud of my students. I am so honored to see them go on to the next grade. Nonetheless, I am so happy that teachers get a culturally summer is built in, baby. Still sending love to all the teachers, my peers, everybody out there. And all right, James, let's wrap it up. We have been skeptic and ranting on the one terrifying moment that forced Dave Smith to reject atheism. That's right, where we watched a video from the channel Tucker Bucker Shootin' Clucker. Wait, no. What is that? The Tucker Carlson Network. Okay. For a good time. So spooky. We apparently found God. We found God in the waiting room of a hospital.
A shirtless guy on a horse with a Russian accent.
I do want to thank everyone out there for joining us. I want to thank my co-host James W, as well as all the people in chat, our awesome mods who make the stream so great, and lovely viewers like you who make this channel even possible. If you enjoy the show, please don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. I said it, YouTube. I said it. You can let them go now, because then you can
be a
see
really
our
good
premieres.
person if you
I'll be a
subscribe.
really good girl. Oh my god! Like really, it reminds me a million directors and have said this, but like I think it's Peele, Jordan Peele, who said the difference between a horror and a comedy is the music in the background.
Yeah.
But like he like really has this way they reinterpret beautiful things. And so I was sitting there bartering with God. I put up my child and my wife, and I said, I will never be a bad person again, and they'll continue to live. Like they sell it so well, but if you actually were to logistically go into it, it'd be a horror show. Absolute horror show.
All right, honey. Tell a 6-year-old that the only reason she's alive is because he made a secret deal with God to be a good.
And now every day he needs to go and say his thanks to this deity so that you can continue to live.
Pretty much.
I think we all learned something today. I don't know what it is, but we sure learned it. Or hey, why not leave a comment once the video's done? We also have the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below, along with our channel membership, which has our evolving badge system, which evolution just seems to naturally trigger creationists. I don't know why. There's a lot of theists out there that accept God and accept evolution. Fantastic. Pro-science. We're targeting the ones that don't. Do verbally. Because we'll
target the other
have
ones
a beer
later.
with everyone. Exactly. Very specifically, we want them to get lingerie on, and then we target them with our love. What were we talking about? I get more random the night goes on. Anyway, you could also support us by heading out to Patreon at patreon.com/amynewman and getting some unique perks. I am Amy Newman.
Hi, Big Bad Mama.
What's up, Big Bad Mama?
End.
I'm so sorry. We're heading out, but we'll be back. There's many more streams. It's about to be summer. Oh my goodness. And I'm getting faster and faster. I've created multiple systems to allow me to grade faster in all of these different ways. Anyway, I love you all. And with sending love with James W. We will see you all in the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everyone. Mwah. Ooh. Good night,
Good night,
Loki.
everybody.
Good night, everyone.